Now we're back, fellow human beings, and this is Module 1B. So far, we have done 3 activities. We did the initial 3-2-1, we watched a video entitled Ang Kambas ng Lipunan, and we did the See, Think, and Wonder activity. Before we proceed, I'd like to go back to our engaging questions just to see if we can already answer some. Let us review the questions. Number 1, what is art? Number 2, what does art do? Number 3, what does art mean? Number 4, what makes art beautiful? And number 5, who is the artist? You might have some ideas and thoughts already about these questions. If you have some ideas, you can write them down now so you won't forget. If you cannot answer them yet, no pressure. You will have time to go back to these questions to answer them later. Meanwhile, let's move on with a short discussion on art. Art is a highly diverse range of human activities engaged in creating visual, auditory, or performed artifacts. Artworks that expresses the author's imaginative or technical skills and are intended to be appreciated for their beauty or emotional power. So, my fellow human beings, it says here that art is an activity intended for humans. These activities involve creation of artworks like paintings, sculpture, architecture, music, dance, and theater. These are the different visual, auditory, and performed arts. These artworks express the imaginative and technical skills of the artist. So, being just imaginative doesn't make one an artist. You also need technical skills. For example, if you are a painter, what technical skills do you need to have? You need to know the different techniques in using the brush or what type of brush to use. Lastly, these artworks are intended to be appreciated not only for their beauty, but also for their emotional power. So, we should be able to feel something when we observe art. Because if you don't feel any emotion while looking at an art, maybe it isn't art. The oldest documented forms of art are visual arts, which include images or objects in the fields like painting, sculpture, printmaking, photography, and other visual media. Architecture is often included as one of the visual arts. However, like the decorative arts, it involves the creation of objects where the practical considerations of use are essential, in a way that they usually are not in another visual art like painting. Before, architecture was included in the visual arts, but because of their different functions, it was taken as a separate art form. Visual art has a more decorative purpose, while architecture is more functional. Did you know that the first art created by man is visual art? Remember the paintings on the walls discovered in the caves dating back ancient times? It is the way the prehistoric man preserved and communicated their culture and traditions and tell stories of how they lived day by day. Art may be characterized in terms of mimesis, expression, communication of emotion, or other qualities. Mimesis is a representation or imitation of the real world in art and literature. Most artists get their inspiration from the people, places, and events around them. Therefore, art is a representation of what the artist sees in reality, but definitely not a copy. Art is often examined through the interaction of the principles and elements of art. The elements of art include texture, form, space, shape, color, value, and line. To understand that better, let us watch this video. Welcome back, fellow human beings. So, the elements of art are the essentials that every artwork must possess, or else they may not be called art at all. All art must have, or at least focus on one element. Have you ever looked at an artwork and wondered how the artist decided to begin making it? All art, whether two-dimensional, like a painting, or three-dimensional, like a sculpture, contains one or more of the 7 elements of arts. The elements of arts are line, shape, color, value, form, texture, and space. A line is created when you connect 2 dots together. Lines can be straight or curved, thick or thin, broken or jagged, and many more. If we connect lines together, we form shapes. Shapes can be geometric, like a square, a triangle, a rectangle, or a circle. Shapes can also be organic, like the shapes that we see in nature. The shape of the clouds, the mountains, the trees, leaves, the human figure. Color is the most expressive element. We are easily captivated by color. Colors express emotions and ideas. For example, red can mean love, blood, hate, anger. Blue can express peace, calmness, the sky, the ocean. Yellow can express happiness, brightness, and joy. To make colors more meaningful, we need to put in value. Value is the lightness and darkness of color. Value makes objects look more real and three-dimensional. By applying value on shapes, we create form. Form is the three-dimensional view of a shape. For example, a square can look like a cube, or a circle can look like a sphere, or a triangle can look like a pyramid if we apply value. Texture is the tactile quality of surfaces. There are smooth surfaces, rough surfaces, wet surfaces, crystal-like surfaces, and this gives character to the artwork. Lastly, all artworks must have a space to put them. A painting needs a canvas. A sculpture needs a block of wood, metal, or ice. Music needs a music sheet, where a musician puts or reads the notes. Dance and theater needs a stage. These are the various spaces in art. So, fellow human beings, that's how important the elements are in art. The elements of art are the building blocks of making art. So now, let's apply what we have learned in the elements of art by analyzing this painting. Do you see the 7 elements of art in this painting? Do you see lines, color, shapes, texture, value, form, and space? What do you think of the theme of the painting? What is it about? Can you consider this painting art? Why? What title would you give this work? Share your thoughts and tell us what you see. Write your observations and turn in your analysis in our Edmodo assignment page. Now, to be able to use these elements wisely and beautifully, the artist needs to learn to apply the principles of art on the elements of art. The principles of art include contrast, unity, balance, emphasis, variety, movement, and pattern. Let's watch this video. So, my fellow human beings, the principles of art represents how the artist uses the elements of art to create an effect and help convey the intention of the artist. The principles of art and design are balance, contrast, emphasis, movement, pattern, rhythm, unity, and variety. The use of these principles can help determine whether a painting is successful and whether or not the painting is finished. Now let's talk about the principles of art one by one. Number 1, balance. Balance refers to the visual weight of the elements of the composition. It is the sense that the painting feels stable and feels right. Imbalance causes a feeling of discomfort in the viewer. If I talk to you this way, you wouldn't feel comfortable, would you? Balance can be achieved in 3 different ways. First is through symmetry. Symmetry in which both sides of the composition have the same elements in the same position, as in a mirror image or 2 sides of a face. The next one is asymmetry, in which the composition is balanced due to the contrast of elements of art. For example, a large square on one side of a composition might be balanced by 4 small circles on the other side. Take a look at this painting. If you divide this painting horizontally, you would have symmetrical balance. But if you divide the painting vertically, you have an asymmetrical balance. Third, radial symmetry, in which the elements are equally spaced around the central point, as in the spokes coming out of a hub or a bicycle tire. Principle number 2, contrast. Contrast is the difference between elements of art in a composition, such as each element is made stronger in relation to the other. When placed next to each other, contrasting elements command the viewer's attention. Areas of contrast are among the first places that a viewer's eye is drawn. Contrast can be achieved by juxtapositions of any of the elements of art. Negative or positive spaces are examples of contrast. Complementary colors placed side by side is an example of contrast. Principle number 3, emphasis. Emphasis is when the artist creates an area of the composition that is visually dominant and commands the viewer's attention. This is often achieved by contrast. Principle number 4, movement. Movement is the result of using the elements of art such as they move the viewer's eye around and between the image. A sense of movement can be created by a diagonal or curvy lines, either real or implied, by edges, by illusion of space, by repetition, by energetic mark making. Principle number 5. Pattern. Pattern is a uniform repetition of any of the elements of art or any combination thereof. Anything can be turned into a pattern through repetition. Some classic patterns are spirals, grids, and weaves. Principle number 6. Rhythm. Rhythm is created by movement implied through the repetition of the elements of art in a non-uniform but organized way. It is related to rhythm in music. Unlike pattern, which demands consistency, rhythm relies on variety. Principle number 7. Unity, variety. You want your painting to feel unified, such that all the elements fit together comfortably. Too much unity creates monotony. Too much variety creates chaos. You need both. Ideally, you want areas of interest in your compositions along with places for your eyes to rest. So, fellow human beings, the principles of art help the artist to organize the elements of art in his work. If the elements are the ingredients you need to cook something, the principles are the tools you use and condiments you add to make the dish delicious. This also gives us, the viewers, some sort of framework to analyze, discuss, and judge aesthetic ideas and value of the artwork. So, next time you are asked, what do you think about an artwork? You don't just say, maganda siya, I like it. Because of the elements and principles of art, you can already explain what makes the artwork beautiful, or what is it you really like in the artwork. Let us practice. Take a look at this painting. How did the artist use the different principles of design in relation to the element of art in this painting? Do you think the artist succeeded in expressing the message? What do you think the painting is about? What title would you give this painting? Write down your thoughts and turn in your analysis on our Edmodo assignment page. After this, you can proceed to Module 1C. Thank you very much.